Hey, welcome back to Cool Classics. Today we're going to take a look at the life and career of Yvonne Craig, best known for playing the role of Batgirl on the Batman 66 TV series, but there's a lot more to her story. I got some cool clips, some freaky facts. Here we go. She was born Yvonne Joyce Craig, May 16th, 1937 in Taylorville, Illinois. Which is pretty freaky for me because as a child I drove through Taylorville every weekend with my family to visit my grandmother in Carlinville, Illinois. By the time Yvonne turned 3 years old, the family moved to Columbus, Ohio, where her father, Maurice, worked in a factory as a tool and die worker, and her mother worked at the local department store. Her mother says that it was obvious very early on. Yvonne loved to dance. That's what she did around the house. And so her mother went looking for a dance instructor, and they found a ballet school, and they enrolled her at a very early age. She continued to study ballet and dance with the same school until she was 14 years old. That's when her family moved to Dallas, Texas. That's where she ended up attending Sunset High School, and she enrolled at the Edith James School of Ballet. And while performing there, she was discovered by a guest instructor, Alexandra Danilova. Yvonne, at the age of 16, became the youngest dancer to ever join the Ballet Rue de Monte Carlo troupe, and she continued to travel and perform with the team for the next 3 years, eventually quitting when it was time to do a tour of Latvia, which she said just felt like it was going to be grueling. Now, she tells this story in the Dallas Observer newspaper years later. She says, "I was a very strange high school kid. I mean very strange. I was so wrapped up in ballet that I was out of touch with everything around me. My sister asked me, 'Would you like to go to the football game tonight?' And I said, 'What football game?' She said, 'Our high school football game?' She goes, 'I didn't know we had a team.' Then her sister asked, 'Well, what do you think the pep rallies are for?' And she said, 'I don't even know what a pep rally is.' She said, 'I was so out of it. I was dancing to my own beat, literally, and it was called ballet. I didn't know anything else.' She said that she really did enjoy going to school, and she did great in all of her classes, except for PE. She didn't like having to play physical sports. She said she wasn't diagnosed with anything back in high school, but later in life she found out that she has bad peripheral vision and a lack of depth perception, which caused her to have problems when they would pass the basketball to her and things like that. It would slip between her fingers and hit her right in the face, which she didn't like. Now, her PE teacher knew that she was way into ballet. He actually went and watched one of her recitals. She said he was really cool, and he would let her sit out when she said that her ankles were sore or she didn't want to participate in an event. And that became like just a normal thing. She said, "I did take advantage of it. By the senior year, I was sitting out more times than I actually did join in. And this annoyed a lot of the other students, and they went and told the principal on me." She says that her principal, Mr. Miller, was super strict. He told her she has to start participating in PE or he's going to fail her from that class. She won't get a credit. She said, "Is there any other class I can take instead to get a credit?" He says, "No." She said, "What about French class?" And he says, "We don't have one." So she asks, "How about we start one?" And he says, "How about you go back to PE class and do what you're supposed to do?" So she leaves out of there and she's thinking. She starts for the next couple days walking around talking to teachers, asking them if they would like to teach a French class. And she found one. She went back to the principal's office and said, "Mr. John said that he'll teach the French class." And he says, "Oh, really? Well, who are his students going to be other than you?" And she said, "I have 14 other students that want to join too." He looked her right in the eye and said, "It's not going to happen. Go back to class." Well, she left out of there dejected, but she continued to just go to school, do her thing, although she didn't really participate that much in PE. And when it came time to graduate, here come the grades, all of your credits, and everything was perfect except she was missing one credit. The principal took away the PE credit, which meant she did not get a diploma. She said, "That man, Mr. Miller, did that on purpose. He did that to pay me back for bucking the system because he was strict by the book." And what became of him? Well, he went on to run the school board, she said, and I feel sorry for anybody that ever tried to start a French class under him. Now, Yvonne didn't let this set her back at all. Instead, she moved to Los Angeles and enrolled at UCLA, where she was accepted based on the credits that she did have. She also continued to study dance and ballet and would perform locally, and one of these events got put in the newspaper. That's when a film producer contacted her and said he'd like to have an interview, so she shows up at his office. She said she was a little bit suspicious of this because everyone had warned her of producers that take advantage of young women, so she went in with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder to begin with. She said as soon as she sat down, the first thing he said was, "I'm making a movie, would you like to be in it?" And she replied, "I'm a dancer, will I be dancing in this movie?" And he said, "No, you'll be an actress." And she said, "I'm not interested." He said, "What do you mean you're not interested? You don't want to be an actress? Do you know how many women would love this opportunity?" And she thought, oh boy, here we go, right? And she goes, "Well, not me, because I'm a dancer and I'm working my way to becoming a soloist." He said, "Well, why did you even come down here?" And she says, "Because you seen me dancing in the newspaper and invited me. I figured it had something to do with dancing. I drove all the way down here and you're the one that requested me. I didn't want to become an actress today." And he said, "Fair enough. You really know what you want." And she said the guy turned out to be really nice. I mean, everything worked out, but she didn't get the movie because she didn't want to be an actress. So as time goes on, she starts to open up a little bit more to this whole acting idea. In fact, she went ahead and took a couple classes. And one evening she's out to dinner with her boyfriend at the time, when as soon as she takes a bite and has the food right in her mouth, a man walks up to the table and asks her, "Are you an actress?" Her boyfriend quickly answered, "Yes, she is, and I'm her manager." And she said she went gulp and swallowed her food, and the guy said, "That's great," and handed him his business card. He said they're doing pre-production for a movie, and she has the exact look that he's going for. He's going to be producing it. And she looked at him and thought, he's pretty young. It turns out his name is Patrick Ford. He was son of John Ford. And the star of the movie is going to be Pat Wayne, son of John Wayne. And so she goes down and auditions and gets the part of the leading lady. Now, it's going to take some time for this movie to actually get into production and be made. We're talking a year or more. So she thinks, I better start getting my acting chops together and learn how to actually do this. So she starts going on auditions, and she lands a very, very small role in a movie called 18 and Anxious. And just a few months later, she ends up on television for the first time. It's called Schlitz Playhouse, episode The Honor System.
Helen, I'd like you to meet my dad. This is Uncle Harry. Well, he's not really my uncle, but I've always called him that. This is Helen Meade.
I'm very glad to meet you both. I've heard a lot about you two.
I'd like to do that someday.
Why not now? We could all have lunch. Tommy?
Yeah, how about it, Dad? Be great, Uncle Harry.
Huh? Maybe?
Promise?
Yeah, we'll make it. Now you two run along.
Goodbye, Mr. Parisi. Bye, Mr. Lewis.
Bye. Have fun.
Thanks, Dad.
Here's a parlay for you. The banker's daughter and the ex-con's son.
And right after that, the movie comes out. The Young Land, starring Patrick Wayne, Yvonne Craig, and Dennis Hopper.
Senorita, I wish you to meet my Yankee friends.
You are drunk. Go back to the hacienda at once. I do not wish to meet your Yankee friends. Put him on his horse, Mario.
Hello, Elena.
I thought my father appointed you to keep his vaqueros from getting drunk in that filthy cantina.
His vaqueros are free Americans now. I can't stop their drinking.
So that's what Yankee freedom is. Freedom to get drunk. I've had enough Americanos for one day.
Now, the show wasn't a big commercial success, but it did open a lot of doors for her. All of a sudden, she appears the same year 3 times on television on shows like Philip Marlowe, Bronco, and Mr. Lucky.
Believe me, honey, whatever made you want to do it, it wasn't worth it. That's right. Don't you want to grow up and have real troubles?
What's a little heartache at your age?
You are a square and a half. Like I was just standing there digging the universe. Like I was getting turned on to the unity of everything. And my ego was merging with the great unconscious.
You mean you didn't want to jump in?
I told you I was digging it. And then whammo, the great flood. Phew, why don't some people mind their own business?
And in the very same year, she appears in 2 more movies, Gidget and The Gene Krupa Story.
Hi, new boy. Where have you been? We're having a weenie roast and swim party at my house next Saturday, and you're my date.
Let there be you.
Hey, drummer boy, come quick. I need your help. Come on, hurry. Can I bite your lower lip?
I thought you needed help.
Oh, I do, baby, I do. Hey! Stop it!
Thanks.
Now that's a freaky scene, and here's a freaky coincidence. In the Perry Mason episode, The Case of the Lazy Lover, she co-stars with Neil Hamilton, who goes on to play Commissioner Gordon on the Batman 66 TV series.
Your car's blocking the driveway pretty badly. I had to clip the hedge to miss it.
No, I thought I was going out again. I'll move it presently.
And that's pretty much where it all begins, and from there, it just goes crazy. Starting around 1960, her average is 9 TV shows and 2 movies per year without fail. Here's a weird movie from 1961 called 7 Women from Hell.
Where's your home?
Great Plains, Kansas.
I'll bet you see it real soon. And your girlfriend will be so proud. You have one, don't you? You'll have to come visit me in San Diego. I have a couple of real cute friends who'd be wild about you. He doesn't move.
He's dead.
Sorry, Jenny.
We'll have to bury him. Let's go through his pockets.
How can you? Don't you have a shred of respect left? If we're ever to reach Gona, we're going to need everything we can get.
Here she is on the Death Valley Days TV show, episode To Walk with Greatness. I had to throw this clip in here because look who I spotted. It's Frank DeCova playing Zuni Chief Sanchez.
It's true. My soldiers saw your braves shoot at the white men. We thought that you had broken the treaty. We did not know they'd stolen your horses.
2 braves dead. Eta, my son, find horse dealers. Kill them.
White man's law will show justice.
White man law gives justice. Zuni, take justice.
See, I even threw in a F-Troop Easter egg for you. That deserves a like, or maybe a balloon.
It is balloon!
No such thing as balloon. That's what you tell old Rock and Aegon.
Here she is on McHale's Navy, episode Pumpkin Takes Over.
Come on now. Quick! What's the idea of bursting in here with these pirates when I'm... What is this?
Oh, I've really got them this time, sir. They were going to put on a show, sir, with her. A hoochie-coochie show, sir.
Hoochie-coochie?
Oh, yes.
It's a pleasure to be aboard, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, Lieutenant.
That's right, Captain. I was an interpretive dancer. You know the kind?
Yes, I know the kind. Yes, I mean, I know.
Of course he's been around. And so young to be a captain, too.
Oh, you noticed that. Yeah, it was...
Yvonne just continued to appear all over television, like The Jim Backus Show, Wagon Train, Dr. Kildare, 77 Sunset Strip 4 times, The Many Lives of Dobie Gillis 6 times, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., My Favorite Martian. In this one, she plays a kitten club hostess. You know, most of her roles on television were a girlfriend, love interest, sexy type of character. And in the movies too, but they started to become bigger productions. She was in Ski Party with Frankie Avalon, and then she's in It Happened at the World's Fair with Elvis.
Please, Mike. I think I better go make us some iced tea.
Calm down, honey. You're like a fluttering bird.
Kick your shoes off, baby, relax. Let your hair down, honey, unwind. Come in my arms and make yourself comfortable, dear.
That movie proved so successful that Elvis brought her right back for Kissin' Cousins.
Well, here we are.
Yep, here we are.
Well, there's gold in the mountains, love in the hills, gold in the mountains, and oh, what scenery, the prettiest girl I ever did see.
Now with her star rising, she was suddenly in demand. Also, William Dozier, the producer of Batman, worked with her before on a sitcom, and he got in touch with her agent and requested a meeting. He told her that the network was unsure if they wanted to pick Batman up for a third season, but he had an idea to bring in a new character called Batgirl, and would she be willing to make a presentation video to show the network? She said at first she was very reluctant because it felt like she was making a pilot episode which may never actually come to fruition. But she went ahead and did the project, an 8-minute video introducing Batgirl.
And the next minute, something new has been added. Batgirl.
Seen here in a recently discovered presentation made for the network executives, Batman producers test actress Yvonne in the newly created role of Batgirl.
This presentation video was only seen by the ABC executives, and they told everyone to show up in Chicago for the official ABC announcement of their new lineup. She said when they got to Chicago, they still hadn't been told if they were officially picked up or not. Everyone was standing around in costume backstage, waiting for the announcements. They'd hear another show get picked up. The cast would go out on stage and talk to the executives. And then the next one, and the next one. And then all of a sudden she hears Batgirl, and she goes marching right out there, and someone grabs her right before she hits the stage, and they pull her back, and they said, they called that girl. She said Marlo Thomas goes walking out there all excited, and here I am feeling like an idiot. The show's not even called Batgirl. It's called Batman. What am I thinking? Well, I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, I hope we get picked up. And then, a few shows later, she hears it. Batman, 3rd season.
Oh, sticking your nose in my business.
Perhaps you'd include Batgirl, too.
Batgirl?
Batgirl. Batgirl.
Batgirl?
I don't know who you are, young lady, but you certainly know how to handle yourself well.
Holy agility, I'll say.
Thank you, dynamic duo.
Handle herself well indeed. In fact, she stopped using a stunt double. She got tired of them having to put someone else in for things that she could do. She said, are you telling me I can't run, jump up on that table, spin around, kick that guy, and jump off? Watch me. Action. And she'd go for it. She said, I'd climb the ladders and jump out a window. It didn't really matter. I could kick higher than anybody. Also, since she was such a great dancer, they kind of incorporated that into a few of the battles. It made it kind of fun and campy, but it was really like a dance fight. Now, adding Yvonne as Batgirl to the series didn't just get it signed up for another season. It also added 2 new demographics of viewers. One were the older boys, pubescent, who thought she was beautiful. They liked her. And the other were little girls. For the first time, they wanted to watch Batman to see their superhero. Yvonne says that she can definitely attest to that because she had a huge following of young men in her fan club. Also, one day she was at a grocery store and this lady comes up and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, but my daughter says she knows you from television." And she looks down, and this little girl who's about 6 or 7 says, "I know you're Batgirl." And she said, "Yes, I am, but do you know my real name?" And the girl says, "Yes, it's Barbara Gordon." She said, I bent down and gave her a big hug and said, "Thank you, honey," and it just warmed my heart. But as I was leaving, I thought, well, so much for name recognition. Now, Barbara Gordon was the character she plays that turns into Batgirl, which is also the daughter of Commissioner Gordon, who was played by Neil Hamilton, who was in that Perry Mason episode years before. So there's your freaky coincidence. Unfortunately, season 3 was a little bit of a struggle because now, unlike the previous 2 seasons, they weren't 2-parter episodes. They were 1 episode, it was a shorter amount of time, and they had to condense everyone's parts to fit in the villains and secondary characters. It was just sort of compact and rushed. This was due to budgetary constraints because the show was very expensive to produce. So by the end of the 3rd season, ABC had enough episodes that they could send it into syndication, so they decided not to come back with a 4th season. William Dozier shopped it around, and NBC decided to pick it up for the 4th season, but when they went to get the sets from ABC, they'd already destroyed them, and it wouldn't be cost effective to rebuild, so it just ended. This didn't slow Yvonne down one bit. Here she is in the movie Mars Needs Women, and she was all over television too. Stuff like the Mod Squad, and of course that classic Star Trek episode, Whom Gods Destroy, playing Marta.
Why can't I blow off just one of his ears?
Stop that, Marta. Mr. Spock will think we're lacking in hospitality.
In that case, we must decline with thanks.
Captain, you'll find we set a handsome table, and the entertainment is most enjoyable.
I can get him to tell me what you want to know. I think I knew I loved you from the first moment I saw you.
Man, that's a good episode. You need to go check it out. Now, as the 70s rolled in, she was on stuff like The Courtship of Eddie's Father, Land of the Giants, episode Wild Journey, Kojak, episode Dark Sunday, Emergency, episode Gossip, Mannix, episode Search for a Whisper, The $6 Million Man, episode The Infiltrators. Then after an appearance on Starsky and Hutch and Fantasy Island, Yvonne pretty much just left the industry. Now going back to the beginning of her career, when she was out at dinner and her boyfriend said he was also her agent, his name was Jimmy Boyd and he was a child star. At the age of 13, he sold 3 million copies of the song, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. The two of them ended up getting married in 1960, but they got divorced in 1962. Now later on, Jimmy was drafted into the Vietnam War, but he was able to make it home safely. In her autobiography titled From Ballet to the Batcave and Beyond, she writes that she did date Elvis during the course of those 2 movies, but neither one of them were really in love with each other. She said Elvis invited her over to this big mansion in Bel Air, and he fell asleep. So she didn't know what to do except leave. And she went to click a couple light switches off before she left, and they were push buttons. And nothing really happened. So she thought, oh well, and walks out. And before she could get to her car, 5 police cars pulled up and pointed their guns at her. It turns out that Elvis had panic buttons installed all around the mansion with a direct line to the police. In the 1980s, Yvonne became a real estate agent. And there she met another real estate agent named Kenneth Aldrich. And the two of them got married in 1988 and stayed together 27 years. Settled into her new life outside of Hollywood, she still made sure that she would attend a few events a year to hang out with old co-stars and the fans of classic television. Now sadly, on August 17th, 2015, at the age of 78, Yvonne passed away at her home with her husband by her side. She had breast cancer that had spread to her liver. Wow, another amazing story. What a life she lived. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you ever met her. Tell me some freaky facts that maybe I didn't find. I love making these videos. It's inspiring to me. And click on my video about Burt Ward, who played Robin. That's a wild story there too. I'll be back with more cool classics.